Hi guys, this is Josh Holland and welcome to the plank series, okay? Now, what we're gonna do here is break down exactly what's to happen over the next 5 weeks of how we're going to do this workout, okay? So, we're gonna start today with a very simple breakdown. I call it bank of planks because we're gonna choose a series of planks, maybe a front plank, a full plank, a side plank, a reverse plank, and we're gonna move and progress through those. As we go on, you're gonna see that what we do today, this first week of things that you do, you're gonna see yourself get better. At the end of this video, I want to give you a challenge. I want to see how long you can do a single static plank just in the one position, so that by the time we finish, you're gonna think that that was a piece of cake, a walk in the park, okay? So follow along with me. We don't necessarily need to go through a thorough warm-up this time, but what I will say is I'll give you pointers on what to do, what to feel whenever you're doing this workout, okay? So keep in mind, we're gonna have about 6 or so moves. You're gonna do each of them for 30 seconds. We will take a break in between because this is your first time doing this with me. So once again, thanks for your time and let's go on. One of the first ones we're gonna go into is gonna be the forearm plank. Some people call it a modified plank, some people call it an elbow plank. I call it a forearm plank because that's the one that has the most amount of contact. Yes, your elbow is in contact with the floor, but so is your forearm and wrist and hand, okay? So to set this one up, we're gonna put both forearms and elbows on the ground. I like to always keep my hands flat just to increase the amount of body parts that are on the ground, okay? From here, I'm gonna extend both legs out and we're gonna hold this for 30 seconds, okay? So what I'm doing here is focusing on having my elbows underneath my shoulders, nice breathing. I don't wanna have my hips too low. I don't wanna have my hips too high. I wanna be right here in that midline position. Also, you can play around with what feels good, with keeping your feet together. You can spread your feet a little bit. Really try to keep your glutes tight, lock your pelvis in. Let's stay here for another 5 seconds, and then we'll drop down and we'll talk about the next one, okay? So that was your 30 seconds. Now, I understand that that's relatively easy, okay? A 30-second plank is, for some people, can be very difficult, so don't be discouraged either with that. I want to give you progressions as we go. There's modifications. If at any part you feel like you need to modify even this one, then this is how you do that. You would modify that just on your knees. Okay, you could do the same thing here, okay? This would still be a forearm plank, but this is a modified forearm plank because we've reduced the levers at the legs, okay? So this is a full forearm plank. This is our modified forearm plank, okay? Next, we're gonna go to what I call a full plank. Up on our hands, our arms are extended. It's the top of a push-up position, all right? So the same concept applies. If you feel like you need to modify it, this would be your full modified plank, and this would be your full plank we'll do for 30 seconds. All right, so when I'm in this position, I like to make sure that my hands are spread super wide. And the reason for that is because we can engage all the muscles of the forearms and the wrist to help reduce the pressure around the wrist. A lot of times I see people doing push-ups or full planks and they start to complain about their wrist starting to hurt. Well, it's simply like working your biceps for a long period of time for the first time. It's gonna be a little bit sore, okay? You will get used to it, it will get better. Keep your abs nice and tight, stay up, and there's your 30 seconds. Okay, so we go down and we rest for a bit. Okay, now, so far we've done 2, that's 1 minute of planking. We did take a break in between. As we carry on through these 5 weeks, we will start to put these back to back to back to give you that longer length of time. All right, next we're gonna go into a quadrupedal plank. The quadrupedal plank is on all fours, looks like this, okay? The goal here is to make a perfect square between both hands, wrist and knee, knee to knee, wrist and knee. So we don't want your body like this because that's more like a rectangle. I want you right here in a perfect square. Now, same thing applies to the hands and the wrist. Spread them nice and wide, put them right underneath your shoulders, and I'm gonna dig my toes into the ground now and simply lift my knees about 2 inches above the ground. And if you're in the metric part of the world, then a couple centimeters, okay? All right, so here we go. We're gonna lift our knees up, hold this one for 30 seconds, and this one actually ends up being a little trickier than most people expect. Now, 30 seconds is a very doable quadrupedal plank, But as we progress to a minute quadrupedal plank, it does get way more challenging, okay? So from here, focus on keeping your core engaged. If you need to move side to side, you can. That makes it a little bit more difficult. A lot of people feel the quads on this one, okay? So if you need to shake it out, move those feet and knees a little bit, do so. And there's your 30-second quadrupedal plank. So now we're at a minute and a half. We're moving right along. Next, we're gonna do a side plank on either side. So obviously it's the same exercise, but it's right side, left side. The reason why I count that as one of the 6 or 2 of the 6 is because you may see that one side is a bit more strong than the other. We're looking for symmetry here, okay? So I'm gonna choose a side plank. I'll do both of them facing so you can see what's going on, but I will start on my right side, that's my stronger side, and then I'll move on to my left side. You can do it however you'd like, but we're gonna do 30 seconds each side, okay? So we'll go right into a side plank. The same thing applies here. If you wanna modify it, reduce the lever by bending your legs, just like so, okay? Your hips will still be raised. You will be focusing on your obliques. This is what rotates and counter-rotates your body, all right? So I'm gonna do this with a full side plank, full side forearm plank, as in I'm not modifying it by bending my legs. The other options are to do a side plank on your hand. Today I will do this on my forearm. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna go 30 seconds. Here we go. Pop up with me, try this at home. This is a good way to prepare. If you're using this video now to prepare you, to prime you for what's to come, I promise you, you will progress quite well if you're practicing this more than once. So come back, visit these tutorials, visit these videos, and keep checking yourself. It's like a chin check. You can get through the 10-minute plank at the very end of this and think, oh, I'm good. But then you might want to visit that 6 months down the road. You might want to do that every month, okay? This is your 30 seconds on one side. Now let's move to the other side. See if we see a difference. Feel a difference? Join me at home. Breathe, don't get overwhelmed. If you're starting to sweat, it's quite all right. Trust me, this is what you want, okay? Stack those feet. There's many ways to modify this. Here we go. Up on a side plank. You can have your hand on your hips. You can have your hand raised. You can place a hand on the ground. These are all different ways to modify this. If this is not hard enough for you, then you can rotate. You can lift a leg. You can do all sorts of things to make this much more difficult. So we're halfway there. And then after this, we're gonna go into the final one, which is the reverse plank or tabletop, okay? So we got about 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Now comes the fun one, okay? This one is more about mobility than, say, the toughness of the exercise, okay? So a lot of people feel the triceps start to spasm or start to cramp after a certain period of time. That's simply because the triceps in this position aren't used to holding that much tension for that period of time. So it does get better. If you're jumping right into week 3 and you're doing a 5-minute plank, you might cramp up in your triceps, okay? So this is one reason why you should come through this program exactly how we laid it out, okay? All right, so I'm gonna place my feet flat on the ground. I'm gonna use my feet into the mat to lift my hips up. My hands are placed right here, kind of down from my shoulders and fingers out to the side. I'm simply gonna lift my hips up, push my feet into the mat, drop my head back into a tabletop position. I'll show you both ways to do this, okay? So here we go, 30 seconds reverse plank, like so, okay? So I'm focusing on squeezing my shoulder blades together, squeezing my glutes, letting my shoulders roll back. Head falls down. This is the modified reverse plank, or I simply call it reverse plank. And then this would be a full reverse plank, really firing the back of the legs. So this is another way to do this as well. So you should feel everything in the posterior chain or the back side of the body. It's just a fancy word for the back side of the body. So you should feel everything from your hamstrings to your calves to your glutes to your low back, and that's your 30-second reverse plank. So with those 6 exercises, simple math here, if you add those 30 seconds up over those 6 exercises, that gives you what? That gives you a 3-minute plank. And that 3-minute plank is what we're gonna do for the next series, okay? So week 1 is simply going through this, making sure you know all the names, making sure you can get into the right positions. And then I'm gonna leave you with a challenge. I want you to find one of those positions for this week to see how long you can do. Like for instance, if you wanna choose a reverse plank, how long can you do that reverse plank? If you choose to do a forearm plank, the front forearm plank, do that and see how long you can do it, because mark my words, at the end of this 5 weeks, you will without a doubt get much better, okay? So find me on Instagram or social media at Joshua J. Holland. Drop me a comment, let me know how you've done. Also use Julio at Instagram, Julio Fitness at Instagram, and drop them a comment. Let us know how you feel. Let us know if you started out doing a 1-minute plank, but then you finished doing a 6-minute plank in one position. These are the things that I hear with my clients, so I want to see how well you do, okay? So thanks for joining me. Have fun, and we'll see you soon.